Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul show. How are we all doing? Sorry about missing last week. I just had a bad week last week, and sorry, I was just not up for it last week. So sometimes you just got to take some time off and look after yourself. And so sorry, folks. Last week, didn't kind of happen. So that does mean that we've got a whole bunch of games to catch up on. So we'll run through a whole bunch of stuff tonight, but it'll be probably pretty brief because. Pardon me, I'm on my own tonight. Both Stevens can't make it. And so, we'll just go through a pretty brief roundup of all the stuff that has sort of caught my eye over the last couple of weeks. So, look, Foster is back, isn't he? And as part of the British and Irish Lions tour. He's going to be coaching, or part of the coaches, for the AUNZ Invitational 15. Against the Lions to be held in Adelaide. Now, that's even though it's AUNZ, look, the All Blacks will not be available for that because they'll be having their own test series against France to prepare for and be part of. So they won't be part of that tournament, that team. But it does mean that non-All Blacks will be available for that one. A quick rundown of what's will be what the Lions tour is looking like. First off, they've got the home game against Argentina in Dublin before they head out to Australia. A week later, they'll play the Western Force. Follow that up with a game against the Reds, the Waratahs and Brumbies. So games against all of the super teams before they play that invitational Australia and New Zealand team in Adelaide. They follow that up with their first test match against the Wallabies. There's a First Nations and Pacifica team midweek game between the first test and the second test. And then you got the final test on the 2nd of August there. So 3 tests, one in Brisbane, one in Melbourne, and one in Sydney for that one. Simon Hughes, good to see you joining us on YouTube. Let us know that Belgium has been the first team to qualify for the final qualifying tournament without the Rugby World Cup. So qualifying for the qualifying tournament. Geez. Let's make things easy for us, shall we? In rugby? No, not at all. Let's make things hard and hard to understand. So good luck to Belgium in that one there. In other news, New Zealand Rugby have decided that actually the Bledisloe Cup game on Anzac Day does not stack up, and they won't be pursuing that one. This is something suggested by Rugby Australia last year, and by the sounds of it, they want to continue trying to push for it. So we'll see if it ever happens. Apparently, reading in stuff, Razor was not a fan of it, and the having sort of like this the 2 weeks or the short preparation time for that test match. Wow, perhaps go try coaching a Six Nations team, for example, and how they get short preparations time for some of their test matches. But there you go. Also, perhaps some of the Super Rugby clubs were not over the moon about it either, about losing their players mid-season. And I can see where they're coming from on that one. Look, at the moment, the Southern Hemisphere has got, or New Zealand and Australia have got the right setup, as far as I'm concerned, from a global calendar point of view. The first half of the year, that's what it's being saying, it's February through till June, is your club competition, your Super Rugby, which basically in the first of the year, so basically that's the first 6 months, and then after that, sort of July onwards through till the end of November, is when the international teams have got, or they have got all the players. Now, obviously, the non-international players can play in the NPC in New Zealand. Australia still doesn't have a equivalent tournament for that, and they really could do with something at that level. But it does mean that, but it is clear cut. You're not chopping and changing, unlike up in the Northern Hemisphere where you got a bit of rugby, a bit of club rugby. Then you have the November internationals, more club rugby with your Christmas games, which are big. And then you would take a break for your Six Nations, and then you come back to club rugby again, and then the internationals with the mid-year tests in July. It's just a mess. Let's be honest. And I mean, one of the comments that was made by what is his name? by Herbert, who's one of the Australian, what his role is at Rugby, but he says we're still hanging on to a lot of the amateur baggage, in my view. Too true, mate. We are. But in this case, actually, I think you either take the first half of the year and say that's internationals, and then put your Super Rugby in the second half of the year, or you say no, look, sorry, but internationals is second half of the year, and domestic or your club rugby, as it were, Super Rugby is your first half of the year. So to me, yeah, don't mix them up. Keep them separated. It's working at the moment. It's actually the right setup, whereas the Europe are just a mess. Let's be honest, and it always has been. Talking of Europe, let's just round out where the Six Nations ended up, because obviously, we kind of missed off on that last week. The last round of matches, look, the results went the way we expected, with Ireland, England, and France all getting wins. Ireland beating Italy 17-22, so closer than we expected, especially after that blowout that Italy suffered against France. So look, remember where they got beaten. What was the number in the end? Yes, 24-73. So yeah, you got to say Ireland have they've won all the games and only lost one against France. So I guess from a results point of view, you shouldn't be too happy. But I think performance-wise, they've not quite kind of been at that same kind of level. That something has definitely dropped off this time. Maybe it is bringing Sam Pendergast in, waiting for him to giving him time to grow and letting some of these things grow. And look, with people like Omani, Murray, I've gone blank as to the other one was, who that was their last game for Ireland before they are going into retirement. It is perhaps a little bit of a transition period for Ireland heading up towards the Rugby World Cup. Wales 14, England 68. Yeah, that feel-good factor that happened for Wales after that better performance against Ireland 2 rounds ago, that has really evaporated, hasn't it? The record loss to England in that game, and things are not good in Wales. And then France got that 35-16 win over Scotland to win the tournament. So France finished on 21 points, England on 20, and Ireland on 19. France, look, this is the golden generation. Yes, they've got a championship, but they didn't get the Grand Slam, did they? Losing to England away. They do have this tendency of slipping up in one game. So not really. So some question marks there about being able to keep it on the whole time. Still around France. England, look, started out this tournament being making themselves difficult to beat and getting themselves over the line by winning those games, and actually ending up with actually scoring quite a chunk of points at the end there. So points difference 74 for England, only 18 for Ireland. I think it probably tells you something there. Yeah, look, England, coming into this and say there was some murmurings about Borthwick being under pressure in November last year. So look, they're growing in the right direction. Ireland, on the flip side, they're still a very good team. Don't get me wrong; they only lost one game, but perhaps not at the same heights they were a couple of years ago on that one. Scotland then. 11 points there, big gap between them and Ireland. 8 points there, so there really was a top three, and then Scotland, and then the bottom two for this one. So yes, Scotland. Gregor Townsend, has he taken Scotland as far as it can go? This supposed golden generation isn't quite challenging, is it? Like they perhaps would expect them to. So another kind of middling tournament for Scotland. Italy, look. We came into this kind of thinking they got some attacking panache and all that kind of stuff. I didn't really see it this time. Yes, they got the win over Wales, which is good. So that they got themselves 5th place. Not that wooden spoon, but they got 2 wins last year. They only got 1 this time round. So yes, a bit of a question again, a bit of a is this a little stumble for Italy, or is this part of just the growing process with them improving? We'll have to wait and see. Wales minus 119 points difference across 5 games. That's over 20 points a game. You've lost every single game by, on average. Three bonus points in there. Really sees them bottom of the table, and still massive question marks about how they're going to get themselves out of this mess. Can it get any lower? Well, look, they're on a record losing streak, aren't they? So that could just get longer. But with Japan coming up for the next 2, there is expectation. I think that is going to that losing streak will win with that one. Simon said it's a reasonable growth for Italy not to finish with the wooden spoon this year. Yeah, good from that point of view. But for me, on a purely result point, but from attacking point of view, they just didn't. I didn't see it from their backs that it didn't seem to offer much in quite a few of the games. So to me, some question marks there as to whether actually the game plan has evolved rather than their results. Look, from a mentality point of view, going into a game that they thought that they going in as favourites against Wales and winning that game, that's a good step in the right direction from that point of view. So that wraps up the Six Nations things. And when I get Stephen and Steve back on, I will check and see if there's anything they wanted to pull out from all of that. But so that just wrap things up from that point of view. So round 5 of Super Rugby, so from 2 weeks ago that we didn't chat about last week, so just very quickly wrap it up. Going into that one, we only had 67 injuries, so actually come down from 77. So look, the injuries had started to improve, which was a good thing to see. The Fijian Drua, in fact, had no injuries. They're the only team, in fact, the first team this season to have had no injuries for a round, which is fantastic to see. That didn't last, though. They had 2 injuries coming into this round, but hey, look, that's still a lot better than some other teams. For the Blues, they're the worst impacted with 11 injuries going into round 5, and it was going to get worse for them. We'll talk about that when we get to round 6. So yes, so while things were getting better, say for the Blues, it still was not a great place. Kicked off the round with the Hurricanes getting up over the Highlanders, 18 to 20, with missed drop goals, missed penalties and stuff that could have won it for the Highlanders. So a cracking close game there down in Dunedin. The Brumbies saw off the Fijian Drua, who again continue to struggle away from home. And are on a long losing streak there for away wins on that one. And yeah, good result for the Brumbies there to have done the double over the Drua. The Crusaders 55-33 against the Force. Wow, things clicked, didn't they? All of a sudden there, and it was something like, okay, that's those bad memories from last year seemed to sort of get washed away, and that was kind of the result that, to me, or that a lot of the commentators went from being, hey, this is a struggling side doing okay, coming back, to being, wow, the Crusaders are back. Are they all the way back? We'll have to wait and see. But it was the Force, but still, definitely that blew a lot of cobwebs away and put a lot of positivity there for the Crusaders. In another. Again, the Crusaders have gone 2-0 against the Blues now, 32 to 31. Mariko Iwani try on 75 minutes, and the missed conversion on 76 so it could have been snatched by the Blues at the end there. But that's not where the controversy stops, folks, because the Chiefs have been fined. After that game, after one of their medical teams interfered with the allotted time for a conversion in their win over the Blues. Apparently, one of the Chiefs staff's members, in a red medical bib, booted the ball away after the Blues scored a try by Mark Slayer on 39 minutes, which Harry Plummer then went on to miss. And apparently, the same thing happened again on 50 minutes when Harry Plummer did get the conversion over. Look. Non-playing staff, stop interfering with the game. It's totally wrong, and the Chiefs should be duly punished. If that kind of thing continues, they should probably lose tournament points. To be honest with you, sorry, but we cannot have the medical staff and the water boys and stuff interfering with play. Now, Tom Wright says bad sportsmanship, Norway being happy and mocking Talia's failed conversion attempt. I'm a bit of poor sportsmanship, but actually brings a bit of character, adds a bit of juice to some of these games. So I'm not totally all over. I'm not going to jump on that one either way. I'm not going to particularly say great thing or particularly bad either. Yeah, not too fussed about that. About that kind of thing. And then finally the Reds ended the Waratahs losing streak. Coming into this, the Waratahs were the only unbeaten side. The Reds won this one 35 to 15 here. Comfortable win for them. Look, it was 35-8. So that 15 makes it sound closer than it really was. So good win there for the Reds up against the Waratahs in that one. At the end of that round, we also what I hadn't noticed that Super Rugby was doing is that they have got the Super Rugby Player of the Year ladder going. So the ladder after round 5 had Tom Hooper at the top with 19 votes. Only one vote behind on 12 at Ardy Surveyor and Caleb Tangiatau from obviously from Moana and the Highlanders. Tom Hooper obviously for the Brumbies there. And then a whole crowd after that on 10 points with Godfrey from the Hurricanes, Wilson from the Reds, Reese from the Crusaders, Lakai from Hurricanes, and Karawalevea from the Drua there as well. So and then a whole bunch more behind that. So Tom Hooper, interesting that he is at the top there, just slightly out in front. I've not seen the round 6 scores yet. I don't think they published those or those ones yet. So we'll keep an eye out on that one and let you know how that one is all going. So that was round 5 then. As a quick roundup. Coming into round 6, and back to those injuries, and it had gone back up again, back up to 73 injuries, up from 67. Still down on the first couple of those there. Dr. Wright says, remember when everyone mocks Ben Earl celebrating a non-Irish throw a couple of seasons ago? Look, yes, they probably did, but it's something that's come into the game. We see whole bunch about with lots of players yahooing and clapping when scrums go the right way and all this kind of stuff. It's just become part of the game, whether you like it or whether you like it or not. I'm not a big fan of all of that, of all this kind of celebrating the opposition, or when someone in the opposition do something bad. You can go, yes, got it, but all this cheering as though you've done something good, whereas a lot of the time, actually, you know what? It's not you doing something good. So I don't want you celebrating someone else doing something bad, really. But there you go. On that one. So I say heading into round 6, then 73 injuries. The Blues still leading the way with 12. Unfortunately for them, the Queensland Reds actually up to 11 as well. So another two teams with the most injuries there in that one, and we can see that the Blues are clearly struggling with that. Patrick Tuipulotu pulling out of in round 6 for them. So we kicked off with the Moana Pacifica against the Chiefs down in Navigation Home Stadium in Pocono, which is the county's Manukau home ground. And look, the Chiefs went to work early on. It was 7:43 at half time. So it's cracking first half from the Chiefs, and basically, let's be honest, the game was won by then. There was a yellow card for Tom Savage, but look, it'd been one-way traffic before then already, and was already 0-24 at that point. So you can hardly blame the yellow card for that one. The Chiefs came out of the traps, and the Moana Pacifica were just not ready for it. Come the second half, though, and some changes. And did the Chiefs take the foot off the gas? Did Moana Pacifica pick up? Probably both, in all honesty. And they pulled it back to 35-43 with 4 minutes left to go. Yes, they're still 2 scores behind, but look, a late try by Samisoni Takiyaho finished it all off. But amazing comeback for Moana. But I don't think we ever thought they would really make it back and actually win it. But look, they showed good spirit to fight back in that one. I think places like Pocono, I love Pocono. I love Navigation Home Stadium. It's one of my favourite ones to go to as a when I got my media pass for that one. So I do really enjoy going to that old school stadium like that. That to actually you can get a decent crowd and get some atmosphere. Sure, it's probably less people than are in, say, in Albany Stadium, but they're not rattling around, so you do actually get an atmosphere. Whereas quite often in these bigger stadiums, you get a bigger crowd, but because the stadium is so big, they're still only a 20% full or something, and so you don't get the same atmosphere because there's just so much empty seats. So to me, yeah, I think these are great places. It's a much better place, home ground for more Analytica, in my point of view. But that take a massive lead and have comebacks was going to be a bit of a feature this round, wasn't it? In quite a few games. Highlanders Reds, though, a much closer one at half time. The Highlanders led with 17-12. But as we saw with the that game against the Tars, the Reds have definitely got something about them, and came back to win it 23-29. Look, Tom Liner missing a couple of conversions, well, missing 3 conversions in this one, so it could have been a bigger win than that. Let's be honest. Look, it makes it sound like it was close because it was 23-29. The reality was it was 20-29 in the last 10 minutes. So 2 scores, and the Highlanders went for a penalty to make sure they got that losing bonus point in the end for that one. Not trying to say Highlanders had a good 20 minutes. Reds deserved this one. Definitely in the second half, they did. Absolutely. For that. But and they also started well, to be fair to them, with this one. So this is kind of part of the story that we have for this year, is how well the Australian sides are going. Because in this, when we talk about the table at the end, you'll be made. It's surprising how many are actually in at the playoff spots at the moment. Off the back of that, we had the Blues versus the Crusaders, and boy, this was not something that I think that people were kind of expecting, particularly pre-season. But again, the Crusaders came out of we had an early try for Dalton Papialihi, and then it was all one-way traffic as the Crusaders led 7-20 at half time, and they didn't ease off after that. So it ended up being 7-30, and let's be honest, the game was well and truly dead. A couple of late tries for the Blues, but at the end of the day, they were never going to catch up that one, and 19-42 in the end with that. As Option Right says, Blues wasted all the attacking ball in the first 20 minutes. Look, yes, the where we actually saw, the Crusaders was clinical, and amazingly enough, you're looking at all those tries and all those things. It's not until the 80th minute that Will Jordan scores, and Severies didn't score in this one. So there are 2 players who we've been talking about this season, who have been kind of their try scorers, been galvanising this team in Severies and Will Jordan. They weren't even the ones that were basically those 2 actually quiet on the night, with Fihaki picking up. I think it was he got a hat trick, didn't he? Definitely picked up a couple in there. For the Crusaders. So different to show that the Crusaders are not a one trick pony. You can't just close down 2 players and expect to beat them. There's a lot more about this Crusaders side at the moment than that. Probably helping. They've only got 7 injuries at the moment, say, compared to 12 for the Blues, 10 for the Chiefs, etc. But they are starting to click in this one. But yes. But well done to the Crusaders. Saying this is the Reds' big score from 2 weeks ago, and this one definitely have got a lot of people thinking that Crusaders are definitely a team to watch out for as far as the tournament, even just winning the whole thing, is concerned at the moment. Blues started bashing into the Crusaders later on, making it really hard work. Guile and deception gone. Yeah, that's when because they lost. That's sort of when Harry Plummer came on, and didn't he replace? I've gone blank because it wasn't Bowden Barrett playing this one, was it? Quick check on the lineups. Yeah, Stephen Perifetta there. So yeah, the Blues really missing Bowden Barrett and his ability to pull the strings for this team. Perifetta obviously had injuries and stuff, and so has been out and probably not up to speed yet with his game. Last game on Saturday then was the Waratahs versus the Brumbies. The Waratahs coming off a 13-game losing streak against the Brumbies in this one. And I must admit, I've only seen highlights of this one. A couple of early Lolosio penalties got the Brumbies up before turnover tries were the thing that really got the Waratahs going in this one. Leading 21-6. Not sure why the Blues are using Talia as a goal kicker rather than Perifetta. Is he fit enough? Yeah, that is a big question mark, isn't it? Is Stephen Perifetta really fully fit at the moment? I'm not sure he is, to be honest. You say he's not taking the kicks. Maybe he's got a hamstring issue that might be exacerbated by kicking, but he's okay running, or something along those sort of lines. But yeah, a bit strange that he wasn't kicking. To be honest, with that one. So yeah, 21-6 at half time for the Waratahs. A nice big lead, a bit like that Chiefs game against Moana Pacifica that we talked about earlier. Get a nice big lead, think the game's won, but no, the Brumbies came back into this one, got themselves within a couple of points at 21-18 with about 10 minutes to go. But the Waratahs were saved by a Walton try that got them just enough ahead. There was a late Muirhead try, but look, it was a 2-point lead they had going into that last 5 minutes, and that was enough to see them home and to break that 13-game streak there. And also to bounce back from that loss to the Reds. They had a cracking start to the season with 3 wins. Yes, I think Nocturnal Rights a couple of weeks ago said that look, they hadn't had the best, though they hadn't had the hardest opposition. They had they played all their games at home, and again this was another home game as well. And they hadn't had the hardest opposition, so this was actually a cracking one to get over from their from their mentally point of view. Tristan Riley looks to have had an impact. Yep. And look, his pace was pretty impressive as well, wasn't it? At the weekend for his try. So big win for the Waratahs over over a sort of a Brumbies team that had been going well. Let's be honest with that one. Actually 3-3, perhaps not so well, but I thought it had been going pretty well coming into this one. So good bounce back from the Waratahs after that loss to the Reds the previous week. Finally, the Force against the Drua, and boy, this was an absolute blowout to the Force, 52-15. With this one, I mean 33-5 at half time. Yeah, all done and dusted. And the Drua really do still struggling away from home, and not helped by missing conversions. But let's be honest, 3 missed conversions or 6 points, put them on 21. It just makes it look a bit nice, doesn't it? Really, that wasn't what lost them this game. Rolling discipline and rolling maul. Dolly, Tizano, Dolly. With those first 3 tries, all of them off, and then Dolly also with the 5th try. So 4 of those first 5 tries, I think, were involved. 3 of them, I think, from line-out mauls there on this one. Not trying to say Drua don't seem to be switched on this year, apart from the Chiefs game. They have had problems on the road, and some of the news that came out around some of their transfers and being having to sit in the back of a truck and stuff like that. Means that look, their logistics clearly have not been good, and that needs to be improved. They need to have the same opportunity to actually perform on away games. They don't need to be sitting around waiting for coaches to arrive that don't turn up and having to sit in coaches and stuff like that. That just ruins your prep for the game. So look, there are some mitigating circumstances, but let's be honest. At the end of the day, in 2 years' time or whatever, a year's time, we're just going to look at the results. We're going to forget about those sort of things, they do need to step those up. There does seem to be a thing about their home ground, and particularly in Luatua, that they don't have at their other home ground in Suva, for example. So you could say it does seem that whenever they're away from Luatua, they do seem to struggle. I'm not sure what it is about that. And clearly that needs to be the Drua organisation needs to get on top of that and actually start supporting their players properly around this kind of stuff. And if it isn't them and it's Super Rugby and it's Sanzar or Super Rugby, whatever organisation it is, they need to get onto them and start demanding that actually the right stuff is performed so that their players can play, because they've got decent players, very good players. They just need the opportunity to actually perform and give them the proper platform to perform from. So how does that leave us then? The Chiefs top the table on 22 points, 3 points clear of the Crusaders, but they have played one more game. The Crusaders, the Chiefs haven't had a bye yet, whereas the Crusaders have. So with that game in hand, the Crusaders could easily go top of the table. The Reds also on 19 points as well. So both those teams, with that game in hand over the Chiefs, could leapfrog them to the top of the table. A couple of points back on 17. We've got the Tars, and then a couple more back to the Waratahs. Sorry, to the Brumbies, and then 1 point back to the Force. So yeah, 4 teams in that top 6 are from Australia. In that one. To be fair to the Highlanders, who are on 11 points, they have played 1 less game than the Brumbies and the Force, so they can leapfrog both those teams into that top 6 if they get a good result in that game in hand around that one. The Hurricanes then on a bit further back on 9. And then your 3 sides are just the 1 win. Blues, Fiji and Undrua and Moana Pacifica on 7, 7 and 6 respectively, propping up the bottom of the table. Last year's champions, look, they're on 7 points. They're 7 points now off the top 6, and they don't have a game in hand. They've played 6 already, and they haven't had a bye yet. So really a bad start for the Blues and a tough situation that they've got themselves into now. To climb into those playoff positions. They never say never, but they're the one team, I guess, out of those bottom 3 with the Drua and the Moana that you can see doing it. But still, it's a bit of a climb for them now to do that and get back in, get into those playoff positions. Home semi-final, home playoff round. That looks totally out of the question at this point, having lost 5 games already on that one. So that rounds things up as to where we're at. If we look forward now to the next round of games, it is a shortened round. Only 4 games this coming weekend. 2 on Friday night, 2 on Saturday night. So no more of these afternoon games that we have been seeing. We kick off on Friday with the Hurricanes versus the Waratahs. Look, that Waratahs team just had 1 loss against the Reds. Now, sure, they're away from home now, whereas the Hurricanes, they've already lost 3 games this year. The Hurricanes, according to the TAB, are favourites at $1.30, and whereas the Tars are outsiders at $3.30. You can understand why, as I say, the Tars, when you look at their wins this season, they've all been at home. They beat the Highlanders at home, the Drua at home, the Force at home, lost away to the Reds, and then have beaten the Brumbies at home. So they seem to have this home thing. Mentally, they only played 1 game away so far, but I can understand why you're going there with the Hurricanes as favourites. Brumbies versus the Highlanders, and again the Brumbies are favourites at $1.30. The Highlanders, the away team, at $3.30. Look, the Highlanders, look, they go ahead of the Brumbies if they get this if they get a win in this one. They put on even depending on bonus points actually. But yeah, you've got to say that the Brumbies 3-3. 2 of those wins have been against the Fiji and Drua, but they did get an away win against the Blues as well. So they have been up and down as well this season, losing to obviously that game to the Waratahs at the weekend, also losing to the Chiefs. But hey, that's been the team to beat apparently, and also that loss at home to the Force. So as I say, up and down this year. So it's not unthinkable that the Highlanders could get the win, but I do agree that the Brumbies go into that one with the definitely as the sorry, as the leaders in is that one. Not sorry. Did I mention the death of Grizz? No, so I haven't mentioned the death of Grizz. Look, he's something before my time, and I can't do him justice, to be honest with you, talking about it. So I'll wait till Stephen Harris comes back and let him let us give a better proper opinion of that in a future show. So that's our Friday night games. We're looking there probably at 2 home wins, and the trend continues into Saturday with the Crusaders versus Moana Pacifica. The Crusaders at $1.06. They're the strongest favourites this weekend, and Moana Pacifica at $7. Look, you can understand why the Crusaders could go top of the table this weekend if they get that win, whereas the Moana Pacifica, even with that win over the Hurricanes, have been struggling a bit this year. Yeah, you've got to say that that's actually looking like a good one for your if you're looking for your fantasy picks this weekend. I'll be getting in your Will Jordans, your Sever Reeses. Now look, Sever Reese would look like he was trying too hard at the weekend. If he scores a try, he goes top of the or is it equal to or top of the Super Rugby try scoring stats of all time. So yeah, it's maybe he did look like he was trying too hard at the weekend. Maybe that's more in his mind than actually trying to win the game. These sort of things kind of do, obviously. You can understand that. But home win again there. Final game of the round on Saturday night, the Reds versus the Force. Look, there's a reason why the Reds are third in the table and have only lost 1 game so far. Yeah, they are playing well. The Force, look, they've had some upsets, etc. But you definitely back the Reds in this one. The Reds' only loss was that one down in Christchurch against that resurgent Crusaders. And sure, they have got a chunk of injuries at the moment, with 11 injuries going into round 6. But still, you'd expect them to get up over the Force, and they're $1.18. The Force at $4.50. So look, yeah, a multi for 4 home wins. It does not look like a bad choice. Now, please don't gamble with any money that you can't afford. Yes, do it responsibly. In that one. Looking at, do I have my? Yes, I do have my fantasy team, or do I have the fantasy league up? So let's just have a quick look at the fantasy league before we go. Looking at round 6, and Wolf Gamer John was top the round in our league, and he had triple captained Damien McKenzie, which is how he did that one. Also, look, he didn't go for any of the your typical your Will Jordans or your Sever Reeses in the back there. Sean Stevenson, Lee Carter, Moinawa. He went, it's definitely overload with the Chiefs in the back 3 there for that game against Moana Pacifica, and kind of paid off for him, you got to say. Darcy Swain and Pearce up there in the forwards, perhaps, and also Longren in the as the scrum half, perhaps letting down a little bit with that one. But say top the round for that. But he did use his captaincy, his triple captaincy. For me, there I am down in 12th. Why won't it scroll? Well, that's not very helpful, is it? There we go. That's it. I'll scroll it. That helps. For me, look, Topu Vai, I'm getting pulled just before the game. It didn't help me. Losing the Fijian and Drew number 8. Also, there on also him getting injured early on didn't help me either with those ones. Say quiet nights from Jordan and Reese. Also, Dave McKenzie is someone you just have to have in your team, don't you? Let's be honest. Chisano continues with his try scoring. Bradley Slater did a good job for me as well up there. And I thought, and Lee Carter also for me. Looking at Stephen Harris, he came in at 14th, and oh dear, Cornflake down in 30th. How are we doing overall then? Yeah, not great. I'm down in 15th. Cal 7 is leading so far at the moment, but I am just ahead of Stephen Harris in 16th, and Cornflake, well, yes, down in 24th. So looking at my team, clearly with the Chiefs having a bye this round, we're going to have to switch out Slater, Vai, McKenzie, Carter. Also, the Blues having a bye, so I'm going to have to lose Rico Awani. So there's players there that I'm going to have to find. But look, if you're looking at those, again, Crusaders versus Modern Pacifica, you're going to go heavy with those. Reds versus the Force, again, you're probably looking at some of the Reds players as well, doing quite well. So overload basically with home teams, let's be honest, this weekend, and is kind of my recommendation coming into this one. So yeah, maybe triple cap, or I think you have like 2 captains, so maybe a couple of captains this weekend might not be a bad option when you're looking at something like Crusaders, Modern Pacifica, or Reds versus Force in that one. So there you go, folks. That was just a little catch-up show because, as I say, I missed last week. So I hope you're all staying safe. And look, if you're not feeling so great, do take some time out to look after yourself. We all do need it from time to time. But I do plan to be back next Monday. We'll have a bit of a proper, hopefully better review of the round of games with Steve and Stephen. And I say stay safe, folks. And obviously, we'll also be back on Wednesday night with the standoff show, which covers the NRL action over there, predominantly Australia, but also, hey, we've also got the Warriors here in New Zealand. So stay safe and hope you're well.